We have some big news coming in the fight world, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. If you don't know, now you know. Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley, August 28th, 8 rounds. It does not get much better than this. It is the true definition of celebrity boxing, ladies and gentlemen. Forget Landon McBroom. Forget Austin McBroom. This is one of the biggest fights of the year, and it is even bigger if you want to see Jake Paul finally go down and be gone for good. Man, am I excited for this fight. And I'm going to get into how this fight will play out, but I am just truly stunned at this announcement. As we all know, Jake Paul knocked out Ben Askren via first-round KO back on April 17th of this year, which feels like forever ago. But after that fight, not many people knew who Jake was going to fight next. I mean, of course, we had the speculation that it might be another YouTuber. It might be even a basketball player. It might even be another MMA fighter. Well, why don't we throw in Tyron Woodley to the mix? That's right, the former UFC welterweight champion Tyron Woodley, who defended his belt 3 times, defeated one of the best strikers in the UFC in Stephen Thompson and Darren Till, and has knocked out one of the most durable and most toughest guys in mixed martial arts, and that being ruthless Robbie Lawler, whom he defeated to capture the 170-pound championship. I am truly excited for this fight, mainly because I don't know what to expect. Let's not forget, MMA fighters are technically 0-2 in boxing matches. You have Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. We all know how that played out. And, as I mentioned earlier, Jake Paul versus Ben Askren. Ben Askren's more of a wrestler, so should we count it? I don't really know. But can Tyron Woodley break the curse? Can Tyron Woodley do us all a favor in defeating Jake Paul? Now, before I go any further, I like what Jake Paul's doing. I said this before on the show. I like what he's doing in calling out fighters, in calling out real fighters now, and by just simply taking over the boxing game with celebrity boxing. Let's just call it how we see it. But I did not expect him to fight Tyron Woodley. But I also see why. Jake Paul does a great job of picking his opponents. Let's not forget that. He picked Anderson Gibb, he picked Nate Robinson, and he picked Ben Askren. Here's how he does a good job of picking his opponents. 1, he trains hard. I'll give him that. Jake Paul trains hard to fight. He goes through intense training camps. He goes through extreme dieting, all the whole 9 yards of what it takes to be a fighter. All the guys that he's fought so far do not have that same skill that, say, a Floyd Mayweather has. Let's just be real. Anderson Gibb does not have a boxing background. He didn't train that hard. Albeit all these guys trained hard for Jake Paul, but Jake Paul has a different dedication to this game. I'll give him that. But with that being said, he really picked a pure grappler in Ben Askren to knock out. That's just what it was. He picked Ben Askren, handpicked him. He's also handpicking Tyron Woodley. And here's why I could see Jake Paul winning. For one, Tyron Woodley hasn't won a fight in nearly 3 years. His last win was being against Darren Till back at UFC 228 on September 8th, 2018. So 3 years since Tyron Woodley has gone without a win. He has not won a round in the UFC, let alone mixed martial arts, in 3 years. Lost to Kamaru Usman, lost to Vicente Luque, Colby Covington. 3 straight losses. Has not won a round. Now, of course, Tyron Woodley, you got to factor in the age. He's going to be 40 years old when this fight happens. Jake Paul is basically fighting, I wouldn't say an old man, but in fighting years and in sports years in general, 40 years old is old. But that's just another crazy thing. But here's how I can see it going in Tyron Woodley's favor. He has power. Now, of course, in his last few fights, we weren't seeing him pull the trigger like he did against Josh Koscheck or Darren Till or even Jay Huron. We didn't see that Tyron Woodley. Now we are able to see that Tyron Woodley because we saw a flash of it in the Vicente Luque fight. Jake Paul is very technical. The combination he landed on Ben Askren to win that fight was very precise. It was very good. I'll give him that. But what Tyron Woodley needs to do is he needs to not go wild. He needs to not go in there reckless. He needs to go in there calculated. He realizes he has the power advantage. He has the size advantage as well. He has a better chance at winning this fight than Ben Askren did, mainly because, as I mentioned, you just got to look at Tyron Woodley's simple record of who he defeated and who he knocked out. He dropped one of the greatest strikers in UFC, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, twice, and twice was almost this close from finishing that fight. I'll get into the predictions more as the fight comes, when the closer the fight gets, but as I mentioned, August 28th is when the fight will happen. Now, many people probably don't know who Tyron Woodley is. He is a bit of a celebrity, let's not forget. That's why in the earlier part of this show, I said this is a celebrity fight of immensely big proportions, mainly because Tyron Woodley is in movies, albeit he is not a leading man, but he is in movies, he is in commercials, he even had an album called I'll Beat Your Ass. I haven't listened to it, but in the public eye, Tyron Woodley is a star. He also has his own show on TMZ. I think he even interviewed Justin Bieber one time, but in his own right, Tyron Woodley is a star. And final point on this that I will get to is that this fight has a story behind it. Many of Jake Paul's previous 3 fights did not have a story. You just had the competitive banter. You had the competitive trash talk. Oh, I'll knock you out. I'll knock you out. That's all that really was competitive trash talk. Here, we have a story. Jake Paul knocked out Ben Askren. Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley are really good friends. They trained together. Ben Askren was in Tyron Woodley's corner. Tyron Woodley was in Ben Askren's corner for his fight against Jake Paul. So, albeit Ben Askren doesn't really have that much time in the ring with Jake Paul, but he probably could give Tyron Woodley some pointers on what he can do to win this fight. But let's not forget the incident in their locker room before the fight when Jake Paul was getting his hands wrapped. Now, for those who don't know, in boxing, you can send a trainer over to watch your opponent get their hands wrapped. You don't want them putting anything illegal. You don't want them to use egg weights, basically just to make sure no skimpy, no cheating is going on. Nothing skimpy, nothing illegal is going on behind the scenes. So Tyron Woodley was chosen to be that man for Jake Paul. Leon Love was basically just disrespecting Tyron, disrespecting his honor, basically calling him a fake champion. And Jake Paul was sitting back there getting his hands wrapped, basically agreeing with Leon Love. I mean, if you haven't looked at that clip, I suggest you look on YouTube right now and look at it. They basically disrespect one of the most popular and one of the most iconic champions of our generation. Sure, he's had some boring fights, but Tyron Woodley as a UFC champion, knowing that this guy wouldn't even step close to an octagon, shouldn't be speaking on Tyron Woodley's name like that. And I just think that just adds more magnitude to this fight, that Tyron Woodley was already sizing up Jake Paul. And with that being said, sizing somebody up really, really can help you win a fight. But I'm just truly stunned by this announcement. I'm excited, and I am ready to see Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley. Well, that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe. Comment on how you feel about this entire card, about how you feel about this entire fight. It's your boy, Hollywood AJ. As always, keep it 100. Stay safe. I'm out.